Okay, this is Andy McNeil and Misty Hale, and y'all hear about that episode today, and we're gonna talk about just things we noticed here in Arkansas and in our community, and give you a little flavor from Arkansas. And maybe I should start. You want me to start, Misty?
Yeah, go for it.
First off, how you doing? You doing okay?
I'm good. It's a beautiful day.
And so here's one of the things I noticed, or that I saw. And I maybe we should just have some fun with this. So we all know that the country is 250 years old next July, right? So that's a lot of pomp and circumstances for this. And there was an op-ed piece in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette about this, and it sort of coincided with a study that came out of the Cato Institute. And the way that it's teed up is, hey, our founding fathers wrote a tremendous amount of material. And so you can go back if you wanted to and read all about what they think, because most of them have, a prolific number of words they put down on paper. Enough that would educate you about the period. We don't really study it in detail any longer. And so can you guess what percentage of Americans don't know why we have the Declaration of Independence?
So they can't elucidate why it's important, or they just don't historically know the reasons for it?
They don't know why the U.S. declared independence from Great Britain.
Oh, okay. I would say 78%.
That is a high percentage. Not quite that high, but still an astounding 53% of people couldn't articulate in a survey why the United States declared independence.
I'm kind of impressed. It's actually way better than I thought.
It is kind of crazy. Okay, so here's what he goes on with it, and I'm just going to see how this rings true with you.
Okay.
He goes on to basically say, and sort of like think through, and it's an interesting intellectual exercise. What would the founders think if they saw us now? Okay. So I'm going to give you some words, and, I want you to sort of tell me, would they be surprised? Give me just a reaction. Okay. So let me do the first one. So he makes the case that that in terms of misogyny, that they lived in a world where there was much more misogyny than there is today, and that they would be happy with the progress we've made misogyny. So that's your tee up. Okay. Racism. How would the founders...
How would they feel about whether we're a racist society or not now?
Yes, relative to them.
Well, I definitely think they would find us to be less racist now.
Yeah, of course. Yes, that would be. Yeah. It'd be a huge improvement.
So moving on up on that one.
Yes, you're one for one, according to the author. Barbarism.
Oh, just how mean we are to one another and violent?
Well, it just, everything that goes along with that. Piracy, fighting, wars, etc.
Yeah, I think there's much less violence now.
Much less violence. Good on that. These ones, would they be surprised or not surprised on the following? That we've abolished slavery.
I don't think they would be surprised that
I don't think they would either. So that's you're batting 100. Okay. Would they be surprised that we've expanded civil rights, particularly in areas like sex and race?
I think yes, to a certain degree.
This author says no, that they would probably foresee we would be a gentler society.
Okay.
Do you think that they would be surprised or not surprised that we instituted a common education?
I think they would be surprised.
I think they would be surprised in a good way, right? That we've done something to kind of uplift society.
I think they would be surprised at how federally regulated it is. I think they did not envision as strong a federal government as we have today. So I think they would have thought it may have been more state-centric.
Yeah, because can you imagine if you go 100 years before and then you say, wow, you guys have centralized it, and how did you agree what to teach? Especially since they all learned a totally different way. They were all studying Greek and Roman folks, and very few people were actually doing this, but all of them were. Okay. Would they be Underwhelmed or overwhelmed? This is for these things. The amount of technology we have.
Overwhelmed. Oh my God.
Overwhelmed. Yes, can you imagine the shockingness of the whole thing? I mean, just as a simple story about this, I was reading the history of Lockheed Martin, the defense contractor, and they were doing all these test flights in the 50s and 60s outside what they call Area 51 in Nevada. And the advancements relative to the time, are probably not shocking that people like saw guys in spacesuits and were like, that's aliens, so because it's just stuff they'd never seen, right? Okay. Would they be like surprised or not surprised that their system of government is still functioning?
I think they would be surprised.
So, yeah, like happily surprised, that it's still there, right?
Patting themselves on the back 250 years later.
Okay. If they looked at forms of entertainment, okay, music, TV, just pick broadly entertainment, what do you think they would think?
They would be appalled. Absolutely appalled. Distressed. I mean, when was it that like you weren't allowed to say the word pregnancy on television until like it was a big deal in I Love Lucy, right?
Yes. I found this funny, but probably true in the sense that gratuitous violence, gratuitous sex, ubiquitous cuss words. I think all of those things make us, seem less refined, in some ways, right? Yeah. Even though I'm no saint, and I certainly can cuss with. I don't want to think the best of them. How do you think they would think about the state of crime? How do you think they might look at the lens today?
Honestly, I would think that we're a bunch of softies who don't take it seriously enough.
God, you're doing really well here.
Is that what you think?
According to this author, okay. His view was that they would be surprised that maybe that we would no longer really have executions, not like they would have, right? Like just hangings. That there's the type of crimes that we have now. Here's where this article and I sort of go a little sideways. And so I was with him up to this point, but then there's this common theme that a lot of times I hear, and maybe because I love history and I spent so much time studying and reading about the Romans, that there's this narrative that people want to say that it's their morals that took them down. And the reason I sort of disagree with that is they were around for almost 2,000 years.
Yeah.
And they went through radical changes. And to say that that's the summation of the whole thing, I think is just a massive oversimplification. And so anyway, this author chose to kind of go down that path, basically pivoting off that entertainment comment saying, hey, not shocking, they went down. I view it differently. I view where the Romans go astray is before, Julius Caesar, when they give up the democracy, because it's a yin and yang. One group takes over, and then when the next group takes over, and you couple that with taxation, and you might even say monetary policy, that really that headed them right into dictatorship. So that's what I noticed.
That's pretty good. So, what was this in? This was an op-ed in what?
This is an op-ed by Dana Kelly, who's a Jonesboro writer, in the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. So,
well, cool.
We'll probably hear so many more comparisons over the next 9 months to like all these relationships back to the founders, because 250 seems like a big deal. I happen to be alive when they did it in, at 200. And I was a little kid, but I was around, and I do remember like all the fanfare around, 1976. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So what did you hear about?
So, well, this week I've actually been thinking a lot because, I live kind of in the hinterlands, in rural Arkansas, where hunting is a big deal. In some places, it's food, right? It's not just recreation or keeping the deer population down. It's like food on the table for some people's families. So It is the opening weekend of muzzleloading season. for deer hunters this weekend. So that got me thinking about people being out in the woods. And I wanted to talk about all the wild things that they've been seeing in the woods in Arkansas lately. So, Andy, do you know? Here, I'll quiz you. Do you know before this summer when the last fatal bear attack was in Arkansas?
I think it's like 50 years ago.
It's 1892.
Oh my God, it's way
literally the 1800s. So, yeah. But this summer, there have been 2 fatal bear attacks in Arkansas and then 1 bear stalking of a couple of campers that went on all night long. So there's something going on in the bear population. And all of this has been in the Ozarks. So one guy was killed in Franklin County, another guy killed at Sam's Throne in Newton County. And I think the hikers that were stalked they were somewhere on the Ozark Highlands Trail. So I think it was in the Franklin County area. But, that made me think about like what potentially could be causing these bears to behave differently this year. And Game and Fish, they autopsied the first bear. And both of these bears were young bears. And the first one that they've been able to autopsy, it showed that he was malnourished and he had some sort of like issue with his brain and his spinal cord. So he had like a neurological condition that probably made him unable to behave normally, eat normally, and hence become more aggressive. Anyway, as we have hunters going out in the woods this weekend, I just want to make sure everybody's super careful. Watch out for bears. And mountain lions, there was a mountain lion that was killed down in Hot Spring County in South Arkansas. It was struck by a car.
Yeah, I did see that. I saw that picture.
Yeah, it was huge. It's like, okay, I'm 5 foot tall, like almost exactly. So that makes me 60 inches. This mountain lion was 83 inches long. Like that's huge, and 150 pounds. I think 160.
It'd be interesting if you could tag them and see, like where they all go because they have a massive range.
Yeah, they do. I saw they were able to, one that died in Bradley County, I think a few years ago in Arkansas, they were able to tie back to a family of mountain lions. I want to say it was like Wyoming or it was somewhere really far away.
Can you just imagine how like the farms and the roads that animal has to go across without getting, shot? Because in some states, like I'm going to guess here in Arkansas, if you happen to be a hunter and that rolled right in front of you, you might take a shot. It's so.
Oh yeah, I'd be terrified.
Yeah. One of the things I hope doesn't happen is they find, hopefully it's just a one-off with the bear. Because I sort of have the same relationship, I would say, in terms of fear with a bear and an alligator. Like, I'm not afraid of alligators. Now, if I was out right amongst them swimming, then I'd be super, nervous. Just like if I walked up on a mother bear with her cub, then I would be a little nervous. But in general, I think, if I just let the alligator alone, even if I'm playing golf somewhere and there's an alligator not too far away, I know it's not going to get me. I'm not really, I don't worry about an alligator. And I really don't worry about a bear, but someone did send me a picture the other day. This has actually been a few weeks ago of a bear this is right by my house, right outside, right, like a mile from my house, maybe even less, of a mother bear, walking up the little path that people walk up on Nebo. And so I hope it doesn't turn into a thing and is just a one-off,
I hope so. Or maybe it's like a family thing because the 2 attacks that occurred were within 50 miles of one another. So maybe there was some familial trait, it's a neurological condition where they were both suffering from the same thing because they were both appeared to be yearlings or young bears. So maybe it was something like that. One other thing that I want to hit before we get out of here is Black Panthers in Arkansas.
Oh, yeah. They've got a huge population.
A huge population. Well, just about everybody who's an old timer in Arkansas has a story about seeing a Black Panther, which there have actually been no confirmed sightings of Black Panthers, I think in the whole United States, and people will say Black Panthers don't actually exist, that it's a misnomer. There's no such thing as a Black Panther. It's actually just like a panther that has melanin or a melanin issue. Basically, it's the opposite of an albino. So instead of being an albino animal, they're black. But I swear that I saw one a couple of months ago by Snowball. I was coming back one night driving, and I saw this like black shadow just go across in front of my truck and go into the woods. And it was too like quick and lithe to be a dog, but it wasn't really big enough or bulky enough to be a deer. Anyway, so have you ever seen a black panther?
I have not. But it's interesting about some of these animals, and I don't know how they do this. Like, you just take a coyote as an example. Where I live in Yell County, at night, I can hear coyotes. So I know what a coyote sounds like when they're all yipping out there. And, but it's not never, but it's close to never do I actually see them. They are so elusive. They somehow, can be all around us and us not even know that they're here.
Especially, like, I think those cats, the big cats, they're so good at avoiding humans. Like, they don't want any contact with us. I think that's why you don't see them on game cams. It's because it's not that I don't think they're out there. It's that I think they're really, really good at avoiding places where humans have been. I think they just avoid it.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I would say, so the people that I do know or that I hear about, that run into mountain lions, let's say on the West Coast, most of the time where it can go bad or where you see videos is where like you're on a run, you're on a bike, you round a corner and you just happen to cross paths, and so you startle the animal, and so, and I like to at least cut them a little slack, these animals, just that I'd like to think that they're going to be around for my grandkids to see, as opposed to like getting whacked because, no, everybody's scared. But, well, that's excellent. Well, why don't we leave it there? And we'll talk next week. And y'all hear that?
I love it.
Y'all hear about that?
And if you have a Black Panther sighting story, we want to hear about that. So put it in our social media feed. You can go to our Facebook, Free Arkansas, or go to Instagram and tell us your Black Panther sighting.
Excellent. Have a good weekend.
See you, Andy.
Go Hector.